excitement of WrestleMania season is upon us, and we'll be at the Royal Rumble just in a week and a half at Indianapolis's Lucas Oil Field. And it's going to be a great start to WrestleMania season. WrestleMania season is the biggest weekend of the entire year for professional wrestling. We have independent promotions piggybacking off of WWE, all of the world's top talents migrating to Las Vegas or whatever city WrestleMania is emanating from, except if you are a talent that works for All Elite Wrestling. Tony Khan is prohibiting any talent, any young talent who wants to work a show surrounding WrestleMania weekend in Las Vegas. They are not allowed to. What the hell is going on? And how did we get here for Tony Khan and AEW? I got the latest on that today, right here on Off the Script. We got a former WWE superstar not showing up in the Royal Rumble, even though fans are expecting him to be there. A rumor killer on where WrestleMania in 2027 will be. And a current AEW women's superstar voices her frustration with the lack of TV time she's gotten on AEW television since she has debuted for the company. All this and so much more. It is Saturday, January 25th, 2025, right here on Off the Scripts. We'll start with a returning WWE superstar making his way back to the company in Malakai Black. Each year, fans look forward to the unpredictability of the Royal Rumble, whether it's somebody like Malakai coming over from AEW, making his return to WWE, or a one-off superstar that's just there for the night to pop the crowd. Malakai and his time in AEW is over. He's leaving the company, and he won't be back with WWE in time for the Royal Rumble. I don't know if you guys have paid attention. If you've watched AEW television, it was last week, I believe, we got Buddy Matthews and Will Ospreay. Ospreay beat Buddy Matthews. He cut a promo after the match was over telling Buddy that he didn't need Malakai's leadership and that he could do everything on his own and didn't need the House of Black. Saturday on Collision, we got Adam Copeland, or Cope, going up to Brody King and telling him the same thing. On Wednesday's Dynamite this week, Jamie Hayter and Julia Hart wrestled one-on-one. Jamie Hayter defeated Julia Hart, got on the microphone, which we never see her do. And she cut a promo on Julia Hart saying the same exact thing that Cope said to Brody and Will Ospreay said to Buddy Matthews. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is they are projecting the House of Black being bad because of Malakai Black, and that's what AEW wants you to think. It's not Malakai's reason. It's not Malakai's fault for the House of Black being a failure. It is all AEW, and it is all Tony Khan's fault. So that is what they're trying to project to you on television through these other means. Ospreay, Jamie Hayter, Adam Copeland. The reason why they all felt lost for so long was because of Malakai, not because of AEW, which we all know is not the case. Just letting you guys in on a little secret there, just in case you didn't know. PW Insider's reporting that Malakai is indeed done with AEW and was told by a source that there are no conversations about Black making any final appearances for AEW. It was added that we're also told he would not be free and clear in time for the Royal Rumble match, end quote. It is believed that he will be a free agent from his AEW deal and able to sign with any promotion he wants in February or in March. Now, the Royal Rumble is happening on February 1st. It's probably going to be very, very, very soon for this to happen. But as long as he's back in the company in time for WrestleMania season, WWE could use all the extra talent and all the extra stories going into WrestleMania that they could get to make it even better than it's already going to be. WWE is going on a huge European tour, which Malakai hopefully will be a part of, as I do believe that they would be going to his hometown in Amsterdam. So that is going to be a hopeful for Malakai, or Aleister Black in this case, joining WWE. But to expect him in the Royal Rumble, you might be hoping too much. I don't see that being the case. I think WWE's got the Royal Rumble match already planned and locked and loaded and ready to go. I think this Royal Rumble match is going to be one of the more star-studded Royal Rumbles in Rumble history. I don't really think it needs Malakai, but as long as he's on TV in time for WrestleMania season to maybe have him be a part of Las Vegas, I think that would be a win-win for Malakai, WWE, and the fan base. So I'm looking forward to that actually taking place. Speaking of WrestleMania, there is a rumor killer right now on what the host city of WrestleMania will be in 2027. Obviously, we have Vegas this year for 41. In June 2024, last year, WWE and the Indiana Sports Corporation announced a deal that will bring WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and the Royal Rumble to Indianapolis. The Royal Rumble will be on February 1st, 2025, as I just mentioned, from Lucas Oil Stadium, which will also host a 2-night SummerSlam and a 2-night WrestleMania in the future years. Also, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT and all other events WWE has will take place from arenas across Indianapolis, including the Fort Wayne and Evansville areas. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported the rumors of WrestleMania 27 in Indianapolis are not true. There is a WrestleMania date coming to Indianapolis, but it's many years from now, I believe in the early 2030s. End quote. The last WrestleMania to take place in the city was 1992 with WrestleMania 8 at the Hoosier Dome. The card featured Roddy Piper defending his Intercontinental Championship against Bret the Hitman Hart, and the WWF Championship on the line between Ric Flair and Macho Man Randy Savage, and the show was headlined by Hulk Hogan versus Sid Justice. What does Dave Meltzer know? What does Dave Meltzer know in regards to WrestleMania? This type of information is so closely guarded to the vest that I don't think Dave's sources are going to give him anything in regards to where WrestleMania is or what the company is thinking about in regards to WrestleMania. I don't even think this information is readily known or available from the fucking city that even placed bids on WrestleMania, let alone WWE. I think there's still a bidding process. I think there's still a determination process to go along with where WrestleMania is going to be next year for 27, 28, 29. Never mind going into the 30s. I don't even think there's been discussion about that yet. There's probably been a thought process and a roadmap planned out. But Dave Meltzer doesn't know this information. This is only Dave speculating from his own mind and then projecting it off as news. That's all it is. Now, if I can make a realistic, opinionated take here, WWE will have WrestleMania happen in Las Vegas. Next year, with the rumors of WWE having a kickoff show like they did in Vegas last year for the event to be announced in Vegas this year. Remember, Vegas did the kickoff show and Philly had WrestleMania last year at Lincoln Financial. This year, they have WrestleMania in Las Vegas to piggyback off the kickoff show happening a year prior. This year, the kickoff show is going to be in New Orleans. So who's to say that WrestleMania isn't announced for next year being in New Orleans for 2027? Now, if I could give you a list of possible places for WrestleMania, Indianapolis is certainly one of them. Atlanta, I know, is definitely one of them. Then you got WWE always thinking about the United Kingdom. I know WWE wants to bring a WrestleMania when the time is right to the United Kingdom, to Wembley Field or Wembley Stadium. And then you got the Saudi influence. They are already getting a Royal Rumble in 2026. So who's to say that WWE isn't bringing WrestleMania over there? That's step one. That's WWE's second biggest show of the entire year. If you don't think WrestleMania is going to Saudi Arabia, I don't know what to tell you. They already got the Rumble going there. So logically, the next step would be to bring WrestleMania to Saudi Arabia. So Atlanta, that's definitely going to be a place. New Orleans. Then you got the United Kingdom and Saudi Arabia. Those are just four places where WWE could realistically bring WrestleMania over the next 4 to 5 years. So we'll see what happens. Dave is not privy to this type of information, and he doesn't know anything as far as where WrestleMania is going to be, especially going into the early 2030s. I mean, it's just ridiculous. He takes something he thinks, and then he spawns it off as news. That's what he has become for The Observer. Moving on. Hulk Hogan will not be at Saturday night's main event tonight. WWE confirmed that Hulk Hogan will no longer be appearing at Saturday night's main event in San Antonio tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock. I will be reviewing the show more than likely tomorrow because tonight I have House of Glory obligations with the Solid Monster. This news, initially reported by Chris Featherstone, comes despite Hogan being featured heavily in the show's promotional campaign. WWE sources have confirmed Featherstone's report that Hogan's absence is due to family commitments. Per The Observer, his withdrawal is unrelated to any negative reactions he received from fans in recent appearances, nor it is connected to any issues with Jesse Ventura or other backstage rumors. Sure. Hogan cited that he has family issues to attend to, whatever the case may be. I smell bullshit on Hulk Hogan's part. There's no reason to believe anything that Hulk Hogan says, and I do think that his team and his backers or whoever is involved with Hulk Hogan's camp are telling him more than likely, don't go out there in San Antonio. Don't go out on live TV because what you've seen in Los Angeles is probably going to be the same way in San Antonio, Texas. So Hulk Hogan will not be appearing at Saturday night's main event. I'm sure all of you guys are heartbroken. You won't be seeing the Hulkster. So we get Jesse Ventura, and that's okay with me. Deonna Purrazzo. The latest complaints in the women's division come from one Deonna Purrazzo. AEW has a ton of talent under contract. Some stars not being used at all for months at a time. Deonna Purrazzo was a notable signing for them last year after finding success in TNA, AAA, and Ring of Honor. I mean, this woman was the Kenny Omega of female professional wrestling in the time she was in Impact and TNA. I mean, she was labeled the female belt collector. She was great. She resurrected her career. She came over from NXT, disgruntled over there, to go and have absolutely one of the best runs a woman ever had in Impact Wrestling. And then she joins AEW with great fanfare after all the accomplishments that she did in Impact. And now she's with AEW, and her career has basically fallen off a fucking cliff. Nobody remembers what she did. Nobody cares about her. And her name value is basically next to zero, thanks to Tony Khan. Throughout her time in AEW, she has feuded with the likes of Mariah May, Toni Storm, and Hikaru Shida. In the latter part of 2024, Purrazzo formed an alliance with Taya Valkyrie, known as the Vendetta. You might not even know that. Where can I find this Vendetta? Where can I find them wrestling? On Saturday Night's Collision, where no one else is watching it. Jesse is watching it for you on Wednesday nights, so you don't have to. Fightful Select is reporting. Deonna Purrazzo has been very vocal to management about wanting to be utilized more and utilized better, especially around the Full Gear show in her hometown, which was basically New Jersey. And the only reason why they put her on the pre-show was because they needed to, because it happened in New Jersey. Deonna hasn't wrestled since January 4th's episode of Collision, where she put over Toni Storm. It's unclear when her next match will be. I could tell you when her next match is going to be. Never. It's going to be a very, 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 very long time before you see Deonna Purrazzo in any meaningful way, if ever, on AEW television. You see, the one thing that she's already made a mistake. Tony Khan has got his ear and his eyes everywhere because he knows that there's criticism coming at him at 1,000 miles an hour. Number one, he sees, he hears, he reads. When he sees via Fightful Select and he sees some fucking troll account and some fucking blue check mark who's going to aggregate everything that the big dirt sheets say to get some clicks and some engagement to get pennies on a dollar from Elon. When Tony sees these headlines all over social media, he sees Deonna Purrazzo frustrated with AEW creative, wants to be utilized better. When he sees this, then she goes back into the toy bin, never to be acknowledged again. So she's already committed cardinal sin number one in the eyes of AEW management and in the eyes of Tony Khan. you open your mouth about how frustrated you are not going to be used, and it's not going to help you get on television. That's number one. So she probably did herself dirty by stating that she's frustrated, and now everybody's reporting it, and now Tony's going to see it and probably not have any time for her or want to use her at all. That's number one. Number two, AEW, specifically Tony Khan, are frauds. They do not like women's wrestling. It's not like Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, John Laurinaitis level of they don't like women's wrestling, because none of them found women's wrestling appealing. The only thing that they wanted as far as their women's wrestling is women wrestling in skimpy outfits or diva searches or fucking, whatever the case may be. Stripper poles and fucking pools of mud for them to wrestle in. That's what they thought of women's wrestling. They didn't give a single iota of a shit about women's wrestling. They were forced to put women's wrestling on in a meaningful way on television, even though they didn't want to. They were forced to create a women's championship and move away from the Divas Championship. They were forced to create women's tag team championships. You see how everything just got ruined because Vince McMahon was forced to do it, and he didn't want to do it. He was forced to put women on TV, and they didn't really have any meaningful interactions or memorable moments at all on the main roster. He pushed who he wanted. Becky, Sasha, Charlotte, Bayley, Alexa. I mean, he only pushed a good 4 or 5 women, which was repeated year over year over year. And those are the people that he went with. Biggest names, merch sellers, they weren't really selling any tickets. They thought that women's wrestling wasn't a draw. Nobody was coming out to see women's wrestling. It was more of a aspect of the show that they could add upon everything else. That's all they thought about. AEW thinks the same way. Now, AEW's got so many different women on this roster. I mean, if you look up and down the women's roster, the names that they are housing in AEW, you look at the names, you could probably say, what the fuck? This division is so uber talented, and they're not even using 9/10 of the fucking division. They push who they want. They put who they want on TV, and that's it. They don't care. They don't care to write meaningful stories. They don't care to put women in more than one segment on a random Dynamite, right? That's why they got Collision. They'll give you one episode where it's one segment or one match for the women's division, then Collision gets one match. They don't really give it. They do it because they're forced to. If AEW doesn't do women's wrestling, then people are going to complain. But people need to start opening their eyes to what exactly is going on. Tony Khan doesn't give a shit about women's wrestling. AEW doesn't give a shit about women's wrestling. They never did. They never did. The point I'm trying to make is the only reason why AEW has a women's division is because they have to, not because they want to. You get ahead in the women's division because of favoritism. You get ahead because of backstage politics. And if Tony decides on any given week to pull you out of the toy chest to be his flavor of the week or flavor of the month, you might get some sporadic TV time like we're seeing right now with Penelope Ford, or have seen with Penelope Ford, and now with Harley Cameron, right? You're a flavor of the week or flavor of the month. Politics, favoritism, and if Tony wants to play with you that month, then you'll get 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks out of it, and then you go back. When was the last time we seen Penelope Ford? Haven't seen Penelope Ford in weeks. What happened? She got a nice, consistent 3 or 4 weeks of television. We all thought that she was coming back, and then nothing happened. Now, Deonna is voicing her frustration. It's not going to happen this way. It's not. Everybody's surprised. Oh, they got Deonna Purrazzo. Where's Deonna Purrazzo? They don't look at Deonna Purrazzo as a draw. They don't look at Deonna Purrazzo as anything more than a fucking name that came over from Impact TNA with all the accolades and all the career fucking statistics that she brought to the table. They signed her. She's making good money. And now she's stuck. And now she's stuck working for a company that has absolutely no use and no desire to use her in a meaningful way on television. Deonna was a means to an end for Toni Storm, and that is it. You think the vendetta is going to get over on AEW television? You think Tony wants to use Deonna and Taya Valkyrie in the vendetta? No. It's a sad state of affairs. I'm sorry to be saying this, but if you expect Deonna Purrazzo on television, it's not going to happen. Unless your name is Mercedes, Toni Storm, or Mariah May, that's it. Those are the big three. Those are the big three that are going to get consistent television time. Where's everybody else? Where's Statlander? Where's Willow? Where is Jamie Hayter? And what happened to the real Jamie Hayter? Why isn't she getting pushed? Where's Thunder Rosa? Where is Hikaru Shida? Where is Athena? Where are all these women that they have signed? You look up and down this roster, you got some of the most talented women in the entire industry, and you don't even know that they're still employed with the company. It's a sad, sad, sad state of affairs. You don't think that woman, you don't think Deonna Purrazzo is regretting her decision? She thought she was coming on in and she was going to have a continuation of what she built in TNA. Not with Tony Khan. Favoritism and politics go a long way in this company, and Deonna is not a favorite, and she's not playing the right politics. I don't know what went wrong, but clearly women's wrestling is not a priority in AEW unless you're Mercedes Moné, Toni Storm, or Mariah May, and that's basically all that matters. It's sad. And I know a lot of people have been wanting her in a more meaningful role. The fact that she now spoke out about it, I doubt we see Deonna Purrazzo in AEW in a meaningful way. Britt, she's been a problem. She's not going to be on TV. Thunder Rosa outwardly, thanked Pentagon Jr. He debuted on Monday Night Raw a couple weeks ago. You think we're going to see Thunder Rosa on TV? That's a big no-no. You can't do that. If Tony decides what you did or what you're doing is wrong, you're punished for it for an extended period of time, and nobody knows when that punishment is going to be over. So don't expect to see Thunder Rosa back on television either. This is what we're working with, folks. For the pro wrestlers. He doesn't give a shit about anything at all unless it benefits him. Finally, younger AEW wrestlers are not allowed to wrestle in Las Vegas during WrestleMania weekend. AEW has a lot of talent under contract with a mixture of inexperienced stars and established veterans. Various promotions have hosted events for years, while other promoters have had autograph signings in whatever city WWE is hosting WrestleMania each year. Before Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor, the promotion would also hold a show on WrestleMania weekend. AEW is yet to announce its plans for Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, which historically takes place on WrestleMania weekend, although there have been rumblings that it may not take place as it usually does this year. And now a report suggests that fans shouldn't expect to see younger talent under contract with AEW wrestle on WrestleMania 41's weekend in Las Vegas. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer wrote, according to one person involved with the booking of talent at the independent level, AEW's younger talent are not allowed to do matches in Las Vegas over WrestleMania week. AEW nor Tony Khan have yet to comment on this situation publicly. Now, I want to start off and say something positive. AEW has every right to deny any talent a spot in Las Vegas on whatever show, WrestleMania weekend. They're contracted to AEW. They could do whatever they want with their talent. Secondly, AEW, more than likely, whoever this said talent is, and I'm sure the talent don't want this to happen either, if you go out and wrestle WrestleMania weekend and work a random independent show or several independent shows in the same week, on the same weekend, some of these talents have wrestled 2 or 3, 4 different times on the same weekend alone just to get as much work in and make as much money as possible because it's the most lucrative weekend of the entire year, the most lucrative week of the entire year. So AEW has denied some talent. Fine, that's up to them. They're contracted today, AEW, fine. That's number one. Number two, talent don't want to work an independent show and then get injured on AEW's time. And neither does AEW want that to happen. And the talent don't want that to happen because if they get injured away from AEW, then they're under contract with AEW. And I'm sure if they get injured, AEW's got to take care of the medical bills. It's not responsible for AEW to do that if they got injured somewhere else. And that's injury time more than likely that's going to get added on top of their contract. And who knows what they're going to want to do come a contract date and their contract expiring. So there's a lot of negatives that go along with it. AEW can say yes or no to whomever they want. So it's up to them. There are a few caveats to that. The point I want to make is Tony Khan, when he first started this endeavor with AEW used to be the home of where all wrestlers would feel at home, right? It's for the pro wrestlers, by the pro wrestlers. This is the alternative, and so on and so forth. They do everything for the pro wrestler that you are not allowed to do in WWE. Now we're seeing WWE use talents and letting them go to work Bloodsport, TNA, other independent shows. AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura have worked pro wrestling, Noah. I mean, WWE is venturing out and letting these talents run GCW, right? Some talents have showed up on GCW shows. WWE is getting their feet wet with letting talent who are not used in a prominent way explore other options, especially during WrestleMania weekend when they know everybody is so close in vicinity. That was not allowed back in the day. Vince would have said, no way. Vince would not allow that. Now AEW is not allowing that. Unless it's a Ring of Honor show, obviously, because Ring of Honor is owned by Tony Khan, or a CMLL show, or a AAA show, or New Japan. If you are affiliated with the AEW umbrella, sure. But if you want to go work Impact, or GCW, or House of Glory, or whoever, Rev Pro, or whatever, whoever shows up WrestleMania. I mean, God knows who the fuck is going to be showing up in Las Vegas. Every independent promotion is going to be fucking tailgating and piggybacking off of WrestleMania to get some work in, to make some money, because that's what the weekend is for. But AEW is not going to allow their younger talent to do that. What happened to the mantra of pro wrestling by the pro wrestlers for the pro wrestlers? What happened to being the alternative? You're not allowing talent, especially talent that you have no desire to use on television. No creative plans for at all. Talent that's just sitting idly by, making X amount of money. You're not going to allow that talent to go and want to work. Now, who's to say this talent actually wants to work? That's another problem I'll address in a second. But if talent wants to work and you're not using them and have no plans to use them, why are you not allowing them to go make some extra money? Why are you not allowing them to get in-ring reps? A lot of these talents need in-ring reps. A lot of these talents need to work in front of different audiences and get their face and their moveset and their brand in front of new eyes and new audience. How are you going to not allow that to happen during the biggest wrestling weekend of the year? I don't understand it. Why are you actively trying to take money away from a pro wrestler during the biggest weekend of the entire year? Why? Because you're afraid of getting your talent seen by WWE execs or WWE, scouts or another promotion scouts. You don't want your talent mingling with other superstars in another rival promotion because you fear that you may lose them to said rival promotion. I mean, does the pettiness ever fucking end with this guy? Does it ever end with AEW? What happened to the original vision of AEW? Tony pissed it away. He pissed it away because he has become so rattled by everything else that's going on. And meanwhile, every decision, every step he makes, every decision he makes is actively killing the company slowly but surely with every decision that man does make. You don't think talent's going to remember, well, Tony didn't let me work this WrestleMania weekend, but my buddies and my friends, look how much money they made. Look how much new fans they made. Look how much merchandise they made. But I didn't. Because my boss is a petty fucking child, and he didn't want me to do it for X amount of reasons. No reasons for the talent. All the reasons come from Tony Khan's mind and Tony Khan's insecurity. So your talent can't make any money and grow their brand on their own fucking mileage because of your insecurities. I don't really understand that aspect, and I don't really understand that decision. I don't. Tony Khan is a fucking fraud. He's a fucking fraud. Everything you heard about him, everything that we were led to believe, everything that he thought, we as a fan base wanted, everything that he told us AEW was going to be is a fucking fraud. A fraud. I don't really understand how you're not going to allow talent to go work the biggest fucking weekend of the year. And the one thing I want to add on top of this is what Tony has done. And I don't want these people a part of my roster. If I'm a pro wrestling promoter, if I'm an owner of a pro wrestling promotion, I don't want these people on my roster. Tony has paid these talents who are not being used. They're not being used. He's paying these talents so much money to be okay with not working. To give them a reason not to go and work. I'm paying you 6 fucking figures to basically do nothing but sit in catering, which is a fucking problem in itself, which is why I said in a previous video, he doesn't give a fuck how much money he's spending. It's all a tax write-off, or it's all whatever to him. It's fucking play money. I mean, the company is pissing away money, and Tony doesn't give a shit because his family is set for the next 8 lifetimes. He doesn't give a shit. But this is talent I don't want on my fucking show. They are being paid whatever, X amount, 6 figures to sit in catering and do nothing. And Tony thinks that's more than enough to say, you know what? I don't have to work. The talent thinks I don't have to work. I'm making this comfortable money. I got a great living. I get what I want, and I'm injury-free. I don't need to work a fucking rinky-dink independent show when I got my boss paying me $250,000 a year to do fucking nothing. Do you really love professional wrestling at that point? That's what I want to know. If you're one of those talents, if that describes you, if you're a talent listening to me right now and that describes you, I know I won't want you a part of my fucking promotion because you're going to sit lazily and just skate by doing the bare minimum. I want you to go out there and fucking work. I want you to go out there and get better so that when you come back to me, you're a better version of yourself than when I first fucking signed you. I want you to learn a thing or two. I want you to mingle with other wrestlers that haven't been in this locker room to learn something new, to get a fresh perspective on what you should be doing and what you should not be doing. Tony doesn't allow that. He's cultivated a culture in AEW that he wants. Not what's best for the talent and not what's best for the fucking locker room. And the people that he's hired to surround him, they don't know any better either. And then when there's a problem, Tony throws his fucking hands up and says to somebody else, some fucking glorified yes man, go handle it. I don't give a shit about doing anything but putting on 8-star bangers for my fucking butt buddy, Dave Meltzer. Am I in the ballpark? This is a fucking sad state of affairs. And who's to say it's not happening during every other major weekend? WrestleMania is just the biggest. Who's to say he's not doing this Rumble weekend? Independent shows piggyback off the other Big 4 or Big 5 shows as well. Royal Rumble weekend, WrestleMania weekend, SummerSlam weekend. Who's to say that it's not happening at those other weekends too that are just as big? WrestleMania being the biggest. Yes, put your faith and trust and hope in Tony Khan, who not only is actively killing AEW, who actively killed and poached basically all of New Japan to a point where they are fucking absolutely bleeding, and they're trying to find desperately the next big star, the next major star, because he took everybody over there that had any sort of credibility whatsoever, and now he's taking away from the indies and not helping the indies out who want to use some of his talent because he's not fucking using them. You mean to tell me that Tony is for professional wrestling? I say bullshit. Tony is only for Tony Khan. And Tony, by everything that I just documented here and everything that I just said, sure, it's an opinion, but I think I'm flying a little bit too close to the sun in most of what I said. You think Tony is for professional wrestling? He's not. He couldn't give a shit about professional wrestling. If it was up to Tony Khan, he'd own all of professional wrestling and leave himself as the only entity in professional wrestling. He don't give a fuck about professional wrestling. He don't give a shit about the health of professional wrestling. As long as it benefits him and him only, that's it. He doesn't give a shit about anybody, how they feel, how they might be thinking, their mental well state of affairs. He don't give a shit about anything. He cares about him and his ego and his fucking way of thinking. He cares about his fucking emotions. He don't give a shit about anybody else, man. That is the fact of the matter. New Japan, and then now the indies. How much more does Tony Khan have to kill? How much more does Tony Khan have to do and say to make sure you guys are brainwashed? Start opening your eyes. This is not the guy that we thought he was 5 years ago. He's nothing but a fucking fraud. Thank you guys very much for all your support. If you did enjoy today's upload, please hit that thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below. Leave a comment. Helps us out tremendously. Thumbs up and comments help us out tremendously in the algorithm, so please do that. Make sure you guys go follow me on social media at JD from NY206, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. And please go check out all the other videos on the channel. There's plenty of it with more coming as we make our way into Rumble Week next week. Hit that subscribe button down below and please turn on the bell for all notifications. This is your one-stop shop for all professional wrestling. Our live streams are the best in the community, and our news videos just as good, man. Thank you very much. I will see you for Saturday night's main event and the review tomorrow afternoon right here on Off the Scripts. I'll see you guys later.